Hey everyone, just crashing on my couch today, not sitting in my usual chair. Today we did a review of Retrotech. This was done by Peter Leigh. He's also known on YouTube as the Nostalgia Nerd. He is a UK gamer and just a wealth of information as far as sort of microcomputers and also the UK gaming scene. I really recommend watching a lot of his videos. They are very, very informative. I wish I could do something like that, but right now I'm not quite there, unfortunately. Anyway, this is a really great book, and we're going to check out just a few of the systems that he covers in here. Mostly the microcomputers, but we are also going to look at the Vectrex just a little bit. This is just such a fun book. I really, really hope that you guys go out and buy it, 'cause it is really great. If you want to just have like a quick reference guide, this is definitely it. Or if you want to go out and actually collect some of these systems, it's really, really cool. He does give you a list, well, not really a big list, but just he throws out like 3 games for each system, sort of, what you should see, what you should play, and what you should avoid playing, which sometimes is kind of helpful. It's just 3 games for each system, but still, it's a nice little thing to throw in here. He does go through the microcomputers and also into the consoles. He doesn't touch on handhelds or like the general PC gaming market. He says in here he kind of wants to do those for like other books, and I really hope that he does them. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you have any comments or criticisms or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. It's the only way I'm going to get better at this. So. Thanks, everyone. So this is the book, and I really like it. It's a nice hardcover book. It's nice and colorful. I'm not sure what the stars mean here. Those are it, but it adds to kind of the fun of it. So it sort of looks like a kind of a weird platformer game, but he's got some of the consoles on here, and it's got a lot of them that I really like. So this is actually the European version, because it has like a little extra print underneath Entertainment System. And he's got a couple of the micros here, and also the Vectrex. It's a really nice book. I'm just going to show a few of these here, because I picked out a couple of the ones that I find really interesting, which are mostly the microcomputers, because I never really knew a whole lot about them. And so first one we're going to look at is the Atari 400-800. He kind of groups these together just simply because, I don't know if it's for space or anything like that, or if it's just because the 800 is kind of like an upgrade for the 400 and everything like that. It adds some more memory in it and whatnot. But just look at that introductory price for the 1970s. My God, that would have cost a lot. The 900 might be for probably like a deluxe model or something with more things into it, kind of like more upgrades or something like that, additional memory or something crazy. Sorry, this is just kind of a really cool piece of tech. So I don't know which version this is, but you can kind of look. It still has this like basic cartridge slot, probably because they didn't really want to spend more money making new things, so it might actually be similar to like the 2600 cartridge slot. Not really sure. I haven't really seen one of these out in the wild before. But it's got this membrane keyboard, which is always really cool because you could just wipe that clean. You didn't have to worry about the keys breaking off or anything like that. This is really, really an amazing thing that Atari did here. Just simply getting their own computer put out, because they probably used like a lot of the guts from the 2600, but maybe upgraded some other stuff just to make it look more like a computer and whatnot. So here I think this is the 800. This might be, I don't know what model it is, but they came out with a few models of these over the years. And this had a lifespan of 13 years, if I'm correct, from reading all of this stuff. This is a really cool thing, and the fact that it lasted all the way through to like the early 90s, basically, it's really impressive as to what Atari could do. I mean, just look at some of these screenshots. I mean, some of these are from the 80s and 70s. Even this one from 1979, that's actually pretty impressive to do for a machine at the time, especially something like this, which was probably seen as more of like a budget system or something like that. But yeah, it's sort of like a memory of Atari. Like, it just seems like Atari always is trying to escape their past, but they are just kind of going back to it over and over again. Kind of like how they tried to upgrade from the 2600 to the 5200 and sort of let that one go. And then when they made the 7800, they made it backwards compatible because they kind of knew that the 2600 was still like more fondly looked at than the other systems that they put out. Let's move ahead here. Ah, yes, the BBC Micro. This one, I just absolutely love the story for it. This was part of the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Company. I think it's company or corporation. I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody will tell me that I'm an idiot in the comments below or something along those lines. But the BBC, which is owned by the British government, they had this contest to, not really a contest, they wanted to promote literacy for computers. So this was the computer that was chosen. It was made by Acorn. They originally went with one from Newberry. I believe it's Newberry. I could be a little bit off on this. But Sinclair was also in it, as you can probably read from the description below. But Acorn ended up winning out, and they created the BBC Micro, which is a pretty cheap computer. Most of these micros were fairly cheap. And yeah, they got these into schools, they got them into homes, and it really helped sort of promote the microcomputer, especially in the UK. This was put out in North America, but it didn't really catch on as far as I know. I mean, but this is just me. I didn't know anybody who really owned a computer, like, right off the bat or anything like that. Most of the people I knew that played games played them on the NES or something along those lines. But yeah, you can look at just the screenshots of these. Now, these are mostly games from like 84 and even 88, but they've got quite a bit of colors. Even in his Must Avoid game, you can tell, like, it's got a lot going on in it. So let's go ahead. Sorry. Yes, the Vectrex. So this one is just something that I really love. This is an absolutely cool system, mostly because it's all self-contained. This is one that did come out in North America, and it's not too ridiculously priced. I mean, it is for 1982, so this is probably going to be like $100, maybe $150 more than the listed price. But just look at it. It's really amazing what they could do with this. They somehow got vector graphics, which were mostly in the arcades, into just a single console. And it's just so cool because it's all like self-contained and everything. All you really needed was a power supply, and you could play these games. Unfortunately, most of them were in actually all of them were in black and white. Sorry about that. They had talked about doing color, but it would have been way too expensive to be commercially viable. So what they would do is they gave these overlays to you. And these overlays would fit, obviously, over the screen, and they would give you the illusion that you could have color graphics and whatnot. Now, because these were mostly arcade games, they weren't overly amazing, but still, it was really cool. And they also had your nice little controller. This was built into the system. Or not really built in, but it could like snap into the system. So you could just get it to pop out here, so it would actually like seal up this area right here. Yeah, it was a really cool idea. Unfortunately, video game crash happened, and the Vectrex kind of went away after that. So let's look at the next one here, which is the Commodore Amiga. This is another crazy one, but just look at the introductory price for when it was first introduced. That's $1,200, well, basically $1,300, and then plus a $300 monitor. I don't know if he's including those together or if that was like separate, but that was really, really expensive. But this was like the top of the line computer for like the mid 80s or something along those lines. You could do a lot with this thing, and it was really able to get a lot of graphics out of it. Unfortunately, it didn't quite last that long, mostly because Commodore didn't last that long. But if you just look at even the screenshots for his bad games here at the bad game at the very bottom, you got a lot out of this system, especially for like the late 80s, early 90s. And basically from what I've heard, mostly from looking at Peter's other videos and everything. So he did an entire video on the Commodore Amiga. They just never really were able to keep up with technology and whatnot, whether it was internal power struggles with Commodore or just them not being able to really get their act together. But anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you out of this. There is a lot more in this book than just the 4 things that I showed. But he doesn't go into great detail, but he does cover a lot of the systems in here. He does talk about handhelds and PC gaming later on, and most of those are kind of like, these require their own book, but like here's some of the basic systems that would go on. I really would love to see it if he did another book on handhelds, and also one on like PC gaming in general. He mostly just covered the micros here, but when you get into like the full-on desktops, that's when things get really interesting. So anyway, definitely check this book out. It is well worth the money, and it is just a lot of fun to look through.